Some dudes spend years trying to build the perfect reputation in football, while for some guys it's the complete opposite. These are the 20 ultimate bad boys. And first up, it's the OG from Spain, Sergio Ramos. When it comes to being bad in football, Ramos makes it look like a profession. I mean, seriously, it's like he does this for a living. Back when he was still playing for Madrid in 2021, Ramos set the record for the most red cards in La Liga history. Crazy, because he's got the most red cards in Real Madrid's history too. Tackles like that he does for a living. In 2020, he even convinced one of his teammates, Fede Valverde, to take out Alvaro Morata and receive a red card just to win a game. Ramos is actually the kind of guy who'd do anything to win. He makes it a habit. But his partner for years at centre-back, the guy's just crazy. Pepe. A few days back, Pepe announced his retirement from the game. And while everyone was being soft and full of nice words, the real ones knew Pepe isn't that type of guy, because during his playing career, he was a wall. See, Pepe took defending to a new level. It was almost impossible for opponents to get past him because once they did, he was taking out both them and the ball. He also had one crazy temper. In 2009, Madrid was playing in a crucial title match at home to Deportivo, and with minutes left to play, Pepe unfortunately gave away a penalty. Now the thing is, Pepe thought the penalty he gave away was going to cost his team the match, and he couldn't believe it. So let's just say it got to him bad, because what happened next? Well, he flipped the switch. I don't even have words for that tackle. Brutal. They don't make them like these guys anymore. Oh yeah, they do. Over in Aston Villa, there's a guy who'd fight anyone. Tyrone Mings. He's a no-nonsense guy. In 2017, Mings was part of a Bournemouth team taking on Manchester United at Old Trafford. With a setting like that, and with United having players like Zlatan Ibrahimovic on their team, it'll have been easy to faze anyone with that kind of lineup. But not Tyrone Mings, man, because when he got down to it, he took on Zlatan and didn't flinch. Damn, even Zlatan felt it. A couple of years later, Cristiano Ronaldo was back playing for Manchester United at Villa Park. Mings was on corner duty detailing Ronaldo when CR7 tried to escape. I mean, he's the GOAT. I'd be scared to pieces just trying to get that close to him. But Mings, he was all hands on the guy. I'm telling you, man, this guy's scared of no one. He'd fight anyone. Bad guy. Mings probably might be a nice guy off the field. Can't say the same thing about this next dude though, because if you believe anything the media says about him, then he's one of the worst human beings on the planet. Karim Benzema. Now, you see, Benzema's case is difficult. He's a proper talent. But remember that iconic 2018 France World Cup winning team? Well, he missed out because of issues off the pitch. In 2015, Benzema was accused of setting up one of his teammates on the national team and trying to blackmail him, Mateo Valbuena. The case became so wild that Benzema was suspended from the national team, and in response, he lashed out and accused the French FA of being racist. This was just one out of a series of accusations labeled against Benzema. He was accused of assaulting a minor a few years back. At the 2022 World Cup, the French FA also had a mix-up with him that led him to drop out from the World Cup team days to the start of the competition. Benzema seems like a nice guy on the field, but off, the media makes it look like he's the devil. This next dude though, nah, there's no denying it. Luis Suarez. I don't think he needs any introduction. Yep, that's him. Also him too. Suarez is a cheat code. Literally. He scores goals, bites human beings, and would do anything just to get a goal or his team a win. The guy's probably the most hated man in Ghana too, and it's easy to remember why. Friendly heads up, don't ever invite Suarez to holiday in Ghana. I bet he says no straight up. Maybe it's a South American team to be that wired up and bad on the field. Over in Argentina, they've got one of the craziest defenders in the game, Nicolas Otamendi. Now, the thing with Otamendi is that just looking at him alone, he looks scary as hell. The guy's legit got tattoos of the Prison Break cast on his back, and he can pick a fight too. Ouch. Otamendi doesn't seem like the type of guy to back down from a challenge. At the Olympic Games, Argentina and a couple of French players got into it in the quarterfinals. And after the game, Otamendi legit told one of the French players to come and have a go at him if they wanted to settle it. Clears Luis Balde. Maybe he should be a bodyguard or something. Over in Argentina, they're just different breeds, man, just like Emiliano Martinez. That guy's something else. If you're Argentinian, you love him. If you're not, he's a really annoying guy. Martinez was a very key part of the Argentina team that won the back-to-back Copa Americas and the World Cup in between. But the reason Martinez was so successful wasn't just down to his goalkeeping skills. The guy can be a real shithouse when he needs to. In the 2021 Copa America semi-final shootout versus Colombia, he taunted the Colombian players so hard that two of them missed penalties. He was at it again at the World Cup 2 years later, taunting the Dutch in the quarterfinals and France in the final. In fact, his taunts became so crazy that FIFA had to create a new rule to ban him from taunting his opponents. Martinez is as crazy on the field and a bad guy off it. But when it comes to that bad guy aura, very few people have the energy the Italian general used to have. In his playing days, Gattuso was downright scary. Get this, he picked a fight with Spurs coach in the Champions. Joe Jordan, it wasn't a fight, he assaulted the guy and threatened the guy by grabbing his throat. Gattuso was never scared of the tackle. I mean, he was a hard hitter. The same thing even applied when he started coaching. You can't be on Gattuso's team and not have that wild spark. From his teams at Milan and Valencia and Marseille, he's like an animal when he gets going. No one can stop him, not even his teammates. Rumor has it that if you stay in your lane, Gattuso probably leaves you alone. The same principle doesn't apply with Nigel de Jong though. Now, when it comes to Nigel de Jong, the stats can be very deceiving. Unlike the other guys on the list who have multiple red cards and all that stuff, de Jong's only ever gotten sent off once in his career. Still, it doesn't mean he didn't play over the edge. You don't have to take it from me, ask Xavi Alonso. I wonder how Alonso still has a heart after that kick. Would have sent me to the ER. Anytime I watch this one, it just reminds me how scary dudes like this were back in the day. De Jong wasn't even going for the ball. He just wanted to take out Alonso clean. Trying to imagine a midfield pairing of Nigel de Jong and Joey Barton, teams would be forfeiting games and staying happy about it. The name Joey Barton means a lot of things depending on who you ask, but the general idea is that crazy bad dude in football. Barton's pretty much done everything bad you can think of in football. He's gotten red cards and lengthy bans for crazy tackles. And stuff like this. He's gotten fined and suspended for attacking his teammates, hit one of them in the eye with a cigar stub, gotten multiple parking tickets, fought on a local street and got caught, fought with managers and called them out online. And even worse, he refused to subscribe to Mr. Football. Can you imagine that? Pretty sure you get the idea by now. Barton's not very nice, and the crazy thing is, the man himself doesn't care. He even called out Alex Scott and said she shouldn't be doing commentary on male games because she knows nothing about male football. That's just wrong, man. You need to chill. I'd say the same thing to Marco Materazzi if I see him face to face. The guy brought out a savage plan to ruin what should have been the greatest sporting moment in football. The 2006 World Cup final, France versus Italy, and it should have been Zizou's final. See, Zidane had announced that he'd be playing in his last ever game as a pro in the tournament. And after giving France the lead early on, it looked all set for him to retire in the best way possible. But after Italy drew level and took the game to extra time, France started to fall apart. But Materazzi still had a wicked plan to finish the game off. And once he got close, he got into Zizou's head and made him snap. Told Zizou he'd rather have his shirt than his sister, and Zizou lost it. The same guy kicked Zlatan too hard in the league back in 2006. Zlatan had to miss close to 3 months out with injury. A proper bad guy. This next dude, he isn't just bad, he's controversial. Never mess with Eric Cantona. Truth is, he's just as confusing as he is crazy. In 1995, Cantona took out a Crystal Palace fan just for mocking him in a game. The same guy retired at the peak of his powers. And before all that, he was labelled as an icon for Manchester United. When Cantona wasn't scoring goals, he was putting in some really heavy tackles. He was an enigma who could do anything. It's incredibly hard to describe Cantona as a good guy. I think even he doesn't believe he was any good, unlike the next guy though. Now this dude believed he ruled the world. Diego Armando Maradona. In his prime he was unplayable, but on the other side of all this, Maradona had some serious controversy that surrounded him. The only reason he was in Napoli was because he failed a drug test in Spain. The guy legit cheated to win anything. Ask the English fans from 1986. The hand of God. One of the most scandalous goals in football history. Maradona used his hand to knock a country out of the World Cup. In 1994, Maradona was at the World Cup again. This time though, his antics had caught up to him. After scoring against Greece in the opening game of the tournament, the medics at the competition thought his celebration was a bit too much. So they invited him for a series of doping tests after the game, and the results came out as expected. Maradona was using banned substances to enhance his performance in the competition. He was sent home after this. The truth is, the amount of scandals and bad reports he had on him were almost the same amount of crazy moments he had in the game. Maradona's a bad guy to the rest of the world, a hero to Argentina. Same thing with Patrick Vieira, a hero to Arsenal, but to the rest of the world, he's awful. Vieira wasn't scared of anything, and he made sure his opponents knew this. He was die-hard in the tackle, and had multiple fights with different opponents over the years. Take nothing from the fact that he was a proper baller, but once he flipped the switch in his head, a fight was going down. Amongst his legendary fights, the craziest one had to be with Roy Keane. The two of them put up some of the most insane battles in Premier League history over the years. And the thing with Vieira was he never backed down from a challenge. Never. There is one guy I do think Vieira would have been scared of if he came up against him. And to be fair, that guy pretty much scares everyone. Vinnie Jones. Get this, the guy holds the record for the most red cards in a single Premier League season. He has a career total of 7 red cards and is very famous for getting right up there in players' faces. Or down there actually. You pretty much get the idea. Vinnie Jones was a proper 90s bad guy. Dude even took out Eric Cantona once. The balls on this guy to be tackling someone like this shows everything you need to know about the man. He fears nothing. Now guys, it's into the top 5, and at number 5, it's a name you probably won't have been expecting to see. Cristiano Ronaldo. I know you're thinking he's a good guy and all, but he's a victim of circumstance. And I'll show you how. See, in the GOAT debate between he and Lionel Messi that lasted over 15 years, there was also going to be a good guy and a bad guy. Now, Messi's the guy everyone likes. Quiet, does his talking on the pitch, and just loves to eat meat and chill with his family. Ronaldo, on the other hand, well, his temper did get the better of him sometimes. And that's how he found himself in this situation. See, Ronaldo's been painted as the bad guy for years, and it's hard to make a case for him when Messi's always been, you know, good. There's nothing debatable about Zlatan though. He loves being on the opposite side and doesn't care what people think about him. You know he's him when he calls himself a god amongst men, or lions, or whatever he refers to human beings as. All through his career, Zlatan's ego was as big as his playing skills. The guy gets pissed when people step on his stuff. Zlatan wasn't scared of a fight too. I mean, look at him. With that frame, he could have easily passed for a WBO World Heavyweight Champion from the Balkans. Zlatan once went up against Romelu Lukaku and threatened to beat him outside. Went up against Oguchi Onyewu in an infamous training ground fight. Went up against Rafael van der Vaart after Van der Vaart accused him of breaking his legs. He told him he'd beat him if he ever falsely accused him again. That's a man who fears nothing. Zlatan was badass, but he wasn't quite doing it crazy like my man Mario Balotelli. On one hand, he's one of the most troubled footballers the game has ever seen. On the other hand, he simply couldn't care less and did whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. Balotelli's bad guy incidents can write a full book. The guy once crashed into a female prison because he wanted to see what it looked like. set his bathroom on fire with fireworks because he was bored, and on the pitch when he didn't feel like playing and the manager started him anyways, he made sure the coach knew how he felt. Ask Mourinho too. Mourinho once told the story of how he begged Balotelli not to get a red card in a Champions League game versus Rubin Kazan in 2010 because his other two strikers were injured and Balotelli was the only fit option. Mourinho told Balotelli this after half-time. Less than 2 minutes into the second half, he got sent off. Balotelli's always been a badass, but up next is a guy who does this stuff for a living. I bet Diego Costa loves scoring goals the same way he loves picking fights. You're cool. You don't mess with Costa, he's like a live switch waiting to explode. The guy legit chose to abandon his country just a few months before the World Cup and play for another country. Don't get me started on the list of defenders he's left with cuts and bruises every time they've come up against him. Even Sergio Ramos knows Costa is a problem. Costa didn't restrict the fight to players. He got into it with his managers too. The fall-offs with Antonio Conte at Chelsea and Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid were wild, crazy stuff. Now guys, it's time for the number one reveal. The top bad guy in the game. And number one on the list, it's none other than this dude, Roy Keane. He's that guy. Keane was feared throughout his playing career. Even referees were scared of him. He picked fights with everyone. I already told you about the Patrick Vieira incident, but the craziest one was when he retired Erling Haaland's dad because of a 4-year grudge. See, Alfie Haaland had accused Keane of diving to win a foul back in 1997. Keane never forgot. Waited 4 years later in the 2001 Manchester derby, and this tackle shows just how much Keane wanted revenge. Took out his leg. The tackle and other complications led Haaland to retire that season. Roy Keane was even so bad he fought with Sir Alex. Insane stuff. The crazy thing is, despite all these moments, Keane had a more than decent career. Wish I could say the same about Paul Pogba or Dele Alli. There's a full list of footballers who ruined their careers, and you can check that out in the next video.